In Update 8.7 for World of Tanks Blitz, there was a huge list of Tier 9 vehicles that received quite substantial changes. Vehicles like the Tortoise received a DPM buff and a well-deserved armor buff. When you make your way over to the T95, it got a speed boost. And even vehicles like the Foch, which didn't really need a buff to begin with, now are sitting at 4,000 damage per minute. There have been a huge number of changes, but one of the biggies I've not talked about yet is regarding the Centurion 7.1. This is the Tier 9 British medium, one that really nobody has covered. Now, what changed on this vehicle? Well, it has to do with the armor. Previously, the roof of the Centurion was very easily overmatchable by almost any Tier 10 and any vehicle that had a decent amount of penetration, even in Tier 8. The turret cheeks have always been quite weak, and I'll be honest, the turret cheeks have not changed. If we make our way over to Armor Inspector, yeah, the turret cheeks, they're only about 180. That's pretty weak. But the roof of the turret is now base at 237 millimeters thick. And what that means is that if you use this vehicle hull down, then that roof becomes over 400 millimeters thick, which, well, yeah, if I got my fact checking correct, that means that no Tier 10 can pen it unless maybe you're in a Hori fully hull down. That is a huge change from what the vehicle used to be like, where you could easily overmatch the roof with really any heat shells. The mantlet is incredibly thick now as well at 400 millimeters thick, which it did not used to be. As well, the upper plate got an armor buff. In fact, if you angle it correctly, that upper plate is very thick, over 290 at this angle. If you go steeper, it becomes over 300 millimeters thick, which even the heat with Cali, this 54 cannot even budge on the upper plate. The Centurion has become what was a pretty good medium with its mobility buff going 50 kilometers per hour to what is now a ridgeline monster, and a vehicle that can even comfortably bounce Tier 8 shells on the upper plate, even on flat ground. I mean, on flat ground it's about 200 thick on the upper, so that's pretty impressive. And just to show you, while these turret cheeks are pretty big, they're not terrible. I mean, if we look at an M48 patent, which is obviously the American version of a hull-down beast, the turret cheeks on this vehicle are quite a substantial amount larger, at least on paper, than the Centurion 7.1s. So while they look pretty bad on Armor Inspector, in reality, they're actually pretty hard to shoot, and I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's really just that little itty armor profile next to the gun mantlet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to break into some replays showcasing just where the Centurion can be an absolute powerhouse. Now, I'll be honest, not every battle I played in this tank went absolutely fantastic today. In fact, while I'm waiting for this replay to get us into battle, I can make my way over to Blitz stars and check my statistics in the Centurion today. And yeah, they're probably not fantastic. I went up about 66.67% with 3,000 average damage. Some of the battles I had were very, very poor. And it wasn't even the tank, it was just, oh my, some of these teams were not great. But either way, let's take a look at the replay and see what the vehicle can do in the situation that does favor the tank. Now, this is a Tier 8 battle, which is obviously pretty nice for the tank. I have a very good chance of penetrating really any parts of vehicles like the Pantera the enemy team has, a Standard B, or even the Lerva on the frontal plate. So that's already fantastic. I'm going to be driving my way up this hill. Now, I will say I made a bit of a mistake when playing this vehicle in the replays. I didn't realize, but I had rammer on. It must have been from one of my videos or challenges when I put on the 3,500 DPM stock gun and put on rammer. But yeah, that was a mistake, so the penetration you're going to see here is a little bit worse than it normally would be. So I'm not even sure if I would have been able to hit that Pantera if I was running Cali, but it's very, very possible. The dispersion and aiming time on this vehicle are good. It's 0.326 dispersion with an aiming time of 3.2 seconds. Unfortunately, the on-movement dispersion is very poor. So if you're shooting at anybody on the move, your gun has a bit of trouble trying to stabilize, is a good way to word it. That's why shooting at that Pantera there, it decided to miss what looked like quite an easy shot for your average Tier 9 medium. Easy has shown to the rear of that Standard B. I mean, it's literally just the weakest Tier 9 medium. And with that, we're already up to 1,200 damage. 3 shells, 1,200 damage. That is something that I love about this tank. Its ability to absolutely wreck enemy hit point pools. I'll be honest, you don't actually have that much DPM with this vehicle. Even if you're shooting Hess shells, you really don't. Unfortunately as well, that undetected ST1 shot us across the map. But yeah, if you're shooting Hess shells in this tank, you've got like 3,000 DPM or something close to that. It's nothing like ridiculously impressive to write home about. There's vehicles like the M48 Patton and, you know, even the Standard B that if you run them fully equipped can have a lot of DPM as well. You know, the Standard B can dump out a whole clip and deal 1,050 damage. So what I will say is that this tank is really about the alpha damage. It's the fact that you can trade with a tier 8 or tier 9 medium for 440 hit points. That is what makes this tank so strong. But now it's also the definition of strong, where it actually has very, very good armor. Now, the main reason I wanted to show this replay over the other 5K I was going to use was because of what happened to the C75. Now, right now, this guy's just having a blast. I don't know if he just wanted to, like, submit and take these shells from me, but he's backing up and still backing up, and there you go, another nice hesh into his vehicle. Unfortunately, because I'm not running calibrated shells, it's a pretty tricky pen to cut through his lower plate, but I took the chance and we penned it, and, well, yeah, if you actually read the chat, the E75 was telling the 49 to jump on him, so it was actually pretty funny. I thought that gave me a bit of a laugh. I was actually quite happy about that. But don't worry, that LT432 on the enemy team, that guy that proceeded to not push his light tank anywhere, yeah, you're gonna watch him apparently want to report the enemy 75. Yep, reported E75 for apparently throwing a game that was going to be a loss either way. I always question the amount of brain cells some of the players in the Blitz player base have. But, oh well, I could care very little because we came out with a victory and did 4,060 damage. Although I haven't actually done this yet. What is this guy? Actually, he's not bad stats. Pretty impressive. I just don't know why people get so salty when they see something happen. Oh well. Either way, let's go into the other battle on Fort Despair. Now, this battle was 2 minutes and 38 seconds. And really, this is just a perfect example of why the Centurion is so strong. Now that it can go 50 kilometers per hour and have this armor plus 10 degrees of gun depression and a gun that, like, literally turns tier 8s into butter, it's pretty stupid. I mean, I have an 8.3 second reload. I out-reload any tier 8 like IS series tank that has a 12-second reload by days. I can easily aim in, know where I want to shoot, pen it, and then I can either back up, or if I watch that tank shoot, I can put on my adrenaline and get 2 shells in. So 880 damage for what is 1 shell from that vehicle. It's pretty impressive. So what do we have here? Well, we got the M48a2 Rampanzer, which is a pretty nice vehicle. And I was wondering, well, the enemy team has no tank destroyers. I read their lineup for like half a second just thinking, do I want to poke that? So I looked up, saw no TD, so I was like, all right, I'm going to get a shell into the T92E1. And then I figured, well, this Rampanzer, even if he's looking at me, isn't going to be much of a problem. So there's 1 Hess shell into his tank, and yeah, he's probably not enjoying this all too much. But hey, we're going to aim in another Hess shell right onto his roof, and there you go. 1,300 damage in a matter of, what, like 12 seconds after my first shell, 15 seconds. I had adrenaline on it. It's pretty stupid. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. Now we're at 2,000 damage. Ha-ha! Yeah, this vehicle, it feels just so nice to be able to do this. When you're in a battle against incompetent enemy teams where they play and do the wrong thing. I mean, sure, my teams do this a lot of times. I can't tell you how many times I have players like that Chrysler or this Larva that is doing God knows what you're about to see. I can't tell you how many times I have teams that do this, and it's sad because my teams are the one that's fall victim to a player like me doing this to the enemy. That's one thing that sucks about teams nowadays is that, I mean, as much as I love farming these players, there's also a battle 1 in 5 that I'll get a team that does this and I'll lose. That's one thing I don't love about Wargaming right now is I wish they would find a way to balance out the teams. I don't think ranked matchmaking is a fantastic thing because if you're a 70%er and it puts you up against, or it puts you a bunch of 40%ers to even out the win rate, that would just give you an instant loss. But I think that Wargaming needs to put like a minimum of something amount of 50%ers on each team just to at least even out the tides. But oh well, enough about that. Centurion, yeah, I mean, you just watch this game. It was a farm. I literally just farmed every single hit point off of the enemy I could. I used my adrenaline, and this is one of the few examples where calibrated didn't even make much of a difference. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 2 pretty dang good battles in the Centurion 7-1, showcasing why this is just a stupid take. That was 4,962 damage in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. We did almost half of the entire damage our team dealt in a win. I mean, that is insane. We could have kept farming if there was more hit points available on their team. Just unfortunately, we couldn't. So there you go. This is the Centurion, and it's a tank that I love for a lot of situations. It's a vehicle that, for some reason, a lot of Void members when I was in the clan tried saying it wasn't good, but, oh, it's a super strong one at that. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Also, if you wanted to know if this line is worth grinding, no, because the FE4202 is not the best tier 10. You could probably grind an STB1 and do a lot better. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.